reached 1 million people to own our record, we had figured like, man, we had made it. Now all this time later, you've got Facebook that's got 800 million people following Facebook. We use Lollapalooza, a lot of times we started using Facebook probably 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, as a tool for, if you wanted to see a certain group, you just kind of registered, you're going to go and see them, and it connected to Facebook. So we were using Facebook and music, and the people that followed music, you know, quite a few years ago, and we were seeing that people were really into it. They would say, hey, I'm going to go and see, you know, Eminem, for sure, you know, or I'm going to go see, you know, Deadmau5, for sure. And we were able to see exactly, you know, who was popular. It kind of sucked for people like Jimmy Cliff, who was like such a legend, but like his demographic is so much older. And there'd be only a couple of thousand people there that registered on Facebook to see Jimmy Cliff. But of course it was packed for Jimmy Cliff anyway, and it was deceptive. But to answer your question, now that, you know, we've got the computer and the social networking going on, the idea that we can now share music together and share even the live experience together is something that we had never thought would ever happen. Now that it's here, it is the most incredible occurrence, and I'm really happy to be sharing this occurrence tonight for the very first time. There you go.
Thanks, Perry.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Paul, I think you'd be a fitting next responder. And I want to ask you, because you represent both a ubiquitous blockbuster artist like Eminem and also some younger and more less experienced artists, how you see Spotify as a tool to promote either types of artists, someone as big as Eminem or someone who's just starting to bubble up in the culture like the Knucks or Yellow Wolf?
Yeah, so when we were trying to break Eminem and get people to know who he was before he had a record deal, I used to have to walk around in clubs in New York City with 12-inch records and giving them to DJs to let them know what music was, what his music was. So that's changed a lot, obviously, and I think that the process of discovering music with a service like this is incredible, especially given the social media aspects. When you put that together with the subscription service, it could just go like wildfire. And I think and hope that the opportunity for people to hear new music and the avenues to break new artists through Spotify are going to be wide open. And a lot of that is going to be the ease of sharing the music amongst your friends and amongst other people. You don't have to send somebody an MP3 or buy them a CD or send them a YouTube link. They can follow what you're doing and what you're listening to just without you doing anything. So that's pretty incredible.
Ray, you are 1/3 of the Stereotypes, who are now a multi-platinum production trio. You've produced hits from everyone from Justin Bieber to Trey Songz to your own group, the Far East Movement, this year, who was a big breakout success. How do you guys see Spotify potentially changing the creative process for you guys as producers? Does it frame in a different way your approach to working with new artists?
To be honest, I just learned about Spotify very recently, and it's the shit to me. We're constantly in the studio creating for different artists, and we have like radio, you know, program directors coming in. We have executives coming in, and they're like, "Yo, we need that big hit." So I feel like Spotify gives us a platform where we can put out good music, and like for example, like Far East Movement, they had 2 big hits, like a G6 and Rocketeer. But a lot of people didn't get to hear the rest of the album. Now there's a platform where they can stream it for free, and they can become fans of it. So, especially with our new project coming out, John McEnroe, we can just be free and just do good music and bring back good music.
Got it. I'll ask Brandon as well, since you've worked with a huge breakout artist this year, Bruno Mars. It's hard to imagine a greater success on a first album. And one thing that we discussed before the panel was that Bruno, 6 months after he had released his debut album, Doo-Wops and Hooligans, had the most played album on Spotify. So even though he had really declined in the mainstream charts or the Billboard charts, he he was still thriving on the surface. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a testament to what Sean was saying about how, you know, this is going to revive and resuscitate, you know, selling actual music, and I think that so much used to be gauged on a first week sales for these pop artists, and you know, the fact that you told me that statistic, I actually didn't know that. You know, it just shows that people are, it's a great research tool. People are not just consuming, but they're constantly listening to the album and the singles that we've had that have driven people to be aware of who Bruno is and appreciate his music. That it opens up the scope to the entire album, and they use it, you know, as a body of work in their playlist. So.
Great. Let's close with a question for Kaskade, who has taken advantage of one of the, in my opinion, coolest features of Spotify, which is the ability for artists to create their own playlists and to some extent become curators and channels to their fans for spreading and sharing music they love or their own music. You launched a couple of playlists when we opened up in the US, and I'm interested in your thoughts on you know, whether you see yourself evolving into more of a curator, becoming in a certain way the equivalent of what a radio station has always been for fans.
Yeah, I think for me, not too long ago, a big deal for me when I was a kid is we shared mixtapes with each other. That was how we got music out to one another. Or we used to go down to the record shop on Wednesday when the shipment came in, and we'd all dig through the crates and kind of hang out and share music with one another and talk about what was working in the club in the previous week. So for me, it's kind of like this virtual mixtape. I made a chart, put up the songs I'm listening to at the time, and everyone could log on and see it. It's just a much easier and simpler way to get my taste out there. Like, hey, this is what I'm listening to, see if you guys enjoy it. It's cool because a lot of people responded via Facebook and just like, oh, this is cool, I've never heard of this band, this is great, I'm gonna pick up their album, I love this single, wonderful. So for me, it's just cool. It's a great way to share music with people and an easy way to do it.
Great, so everyone will need to check out Kaskade's Facebook page and his Spotify playlist. And with that, I'd like to thank all of our panelists for sharing some of their thoughts today. And we'll get right into the music. Thank you all.